For the 57th year, nearly 600 passionate amateur racers have gathered to select their national champions under a unique format. One race, winner take all. And for the first time in 7 years, their stage is America's National Park of Speed, Road America. Welcome to the Sports Car Club of America Runoffs, our broadcast presented by Mazda. On an absolutely gorgeous fall day in eastern Wisconsin, we welcome you as we work our way through Hagerty Racing Day 1 here at the 57th running of the SCCA National Championship Runoffs. Hello, everybody. I'm Bob Varsha alongside Tom O'Gorman. Hayward Wagner is down in the pit lane. It's been a great day thus far. And, Tom, all I can think of as I watch these cars assemble and go out on the racetrack and walk this extensive paddock is I think we're watching racing in its purest form now. There is no prize money. These people are doing it for the pure love of the game.
I couldn't agree more. There's no reason to be here unless you want to be here, and everybody here, nearly 600 competitors for the runoffs, want to be here so bad, including our field of nearly 30 Touring 3 cars. As you can see, this class meets perfectly at the intersection, to me, of accessibility and fun. These cars are attainable sports cars from the last 20 years, some of the most popular enthusiast cars, and as you said, in its purest form, this is going to be a spectacular race for Touring 3.
Absolutely. Right now, let's get last-minute word from the pit lane now with Hayward.
Guys, T3, if you can't get excited about this, then you shouldn't even tune into the runoffs. This is going to be a great battle, a huge amount of diversity in this class. On the pole, a turbocharged Mustang. How many years ago was that something we'd never even conceived of? Right behind that, a 6-cylinder BMW, then a 6-cylinder Nissan 370Z, and then another of the BMWs, this time with the Spec E46 configuration. What's going to make this really interesting is the strategy behind this race. Marshall Mast out front, he was in a huge battle last year with the BMW. He's going out on the A compound. That's the soft compound tire that is going to give him a big advantage at the start of this race. Cooler weather is really going to favor that turbo motor getting air in and out quickly and efficiently. Right behind him, though, the BMW of Ott, he's running a mixed strategy. He's got the A's on the front of the car, but the R's on the back. His strategy is to try to pressure Marshall into cooking those soft tires while he still has some nice hard compound on the back of the car at the end of the race to run him down. One to keep an eye on, though, is Kulak in the Nissan there at the back. That car is wrapped in a really interesting pattern. Story there, his kids couldn't find him when he was on track. It was too hard to tell which car was which, so the family decided to invest in wraps for the cars to make sure that the littlest fans on that team could keep track of Dad as he's out on the track.
That's a great story. Thank you, Hayward. And there's no question, if you love mechanical diversity, this may be the class for you. Touring 3. You see the beautiful color in the trees. Tom, another reason that I think we have such a big field here, a big field of entries, despite the obvious difficulties we all face in everyday life here right now, is the fact that this is Road America.
It's one of the most popular courses in North America, one of my favorites as well, and we couldn't have had a better week for racing. We have, as you said, the fall colors fully in the Wisconsin area here engaged, and it's been exactly what you're looking at all week. Perfectly blue skies, a little bit chilly, and Hayward makes an excellent point. We do have a number of turbo cars in this field that are going to be happy in this cooler weather, but everybody wants to race at Road America, and we've talked a lot over the last couple of years about home field advantage. As we've traveled around the country, haven't had a repeat runoffs in almost 7 years. This is the first time we're back to Road America since 2013, and most drivers have seen this place at some time or another. And it's just a blast to race at. Such a big variety of cars will make a big variety of corners race very interesting.
And you don't have to race here a lot to get to know Road America. The track was designed and built in 1955. The vision of a man named Cliff Tufte, who passed away in the early 1980s, but who is memorialized this weekend at the track at long last. 4.048 miles around, 14 turns, 10 right, 4 left. Over 160 feet of elevation change, all kinds of corners, and most importantly, the track configuration has not changed since Cliff laid it out in 1955. Widened just that little bit, spectator amenities, safety, of course, but the track goes where it always has.
Not many tracks have that story to tell, but the only change was when they changed it from a street circuit. They built the proper race course, and it is the same 14 corners as it's always been. And you mentioned the variety. There is a huge variety of cars and corners that are all going to play into each other's strengths and weaknesses, and you get to watch as they roll off just the differences between what I said earlier is the kind of the perfect intersection of attainability and pure race car as we're going racing here with Touring 3. The popular car seems to be the 350 and 370Z as we look down through the field. The top half of the field certainly has plenty of those, but it's that Mustang EcoBoost at the front that has everybody's eyebrow raised, and we'll see how it races for 13 laps at Road America.
And with that, it's time to take a look at the starting grid for the Touring 3 race. On the pole, last year's silver medalist Marshall Mast from Denver, Pennsylvania, in a 2019 Ford Mustang EcoBoost with a new qualifying track record. He'll start next to last year's bronze medalist Jason Ott of Littleton, Colorado, in a 2007 BMW Z4M. Row 2, Derek Kulach from Albuquerque, New Mexico, in an 07 Nissan 350Z Nismo, next to last year's gold medalist in the number 44, Broderick Bagues from Columbia, South Carolina, in a 2001 BMW Spec E46. Row 3, Bretton Williams from Clinton, Iowa, in a 2011 Nissan 370Z Nismo, the winner of the Day 1 Sunoco 260 Qualifying Fuel Award for posting a time with the last 3 digits to the right of the decimal point closest to 260. Great idea. Next to him will be Rob Hines from Arlington, Virginia, in a 2007 Nissan 350Z Nismo. Row 4, Jason Knudsen from Indianapolis, Indiana, in a similar 350Z from 07. Row 8, P8, Ross Murray from Marina Del Rey, California, in a 2010 Ford Mustang GT. Moving to row 5, Richard Baldwin of Covington, Louisiana, and Scotty B. White of Auburn, Washington, in a 2006 Nissan 350Z and a 2017 Ford Mustang EcoBoost, respectively. Row 6, James Berlin from Savage, Minnesota, in an 03 Nissan 350Z. And Daniel Spirek from Parker, Colorado, in an 07 BMW Z24M. Row 7, Chris Davis from Maple Plain, Minnesota, in a 2001 BMW E46, and Lansing Stout of Corvallis, Oregon, in a 2003 Nissan 350Z. Row 8, Mark Andrews from Gig Harbor, Washington, in a 2003 BMW 330Ci, and Earl Zimmerman from Sahamish, Washington, in a 2000 BMW 330Ci. Row 9, Michael Pettiford, who has raced already today, finished 7th in an earlier Touring 1 race in a 2007 Pontiac Solstice GXP, next to Angelica Spree of Carrollton, Texas, in a 2018 Subaru BRZ. Row 10, John Logidis from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, right down the road, in a 2012 Ford Mustang V6, and Philip DePippo of Laurel, New York, in a 2019 Ford Mustang EcoBoost. Row 11, Stephen Zhu from Houston, Texas, in a 2018 Ford Civic Si, and Nicole Jacques from San Jose, California, in a 2005 Ford Mustang GT. Row 12, Russell Sewall from Kennewick, Washington, and Richard Kulach from Franklin, Tennessee, in an 05 BMW 330Ci and a 2009 Nissan 370Z Nismo, respectively. Row 13, Darrell Pritchett from Daytona Beach, Florida, in a 2012 Ford Mustang V6, winner of the Hawk Breakthrough Award from Hawk Brakes for making the biggest improvement in qualifying time from day 1 to day 2, a full 15 seconds, as I recall. Darrell will start next to Frank Garcia of Frostproof, Florida, in a 2012 Ford Mustang V6. Moving on to row 14, Jasper Drangler of Shawano, Wisconsin, in a 2017 Honda Civic Si, and Eddie Nakato from Lake Oswego, Oregon, in a 2000 BMW E46. And all alone on the final row, David Muramoto from Aurora, Colorado, in a 2006 Nissan 350Z. There you see the field making its way through one of the best-known corners on this track, the infamous kink.
That's a lot of cars, Bob, and these cars are just fast enough to make the kink an event. They're definitely going to have to lift for that corner. A little tap of the brakes and a huge variety of cars.
There is Brent Williams, who posted that time worthy of the Sunoco 260 award. Sunoco day one of qualifying. But now it's all about racing. The cars begin to form up 2 by 2 as they make their way up through turn 13, headed for turn 14. And once again, the winner of the Hawk Breakthrough Award, Darrell Pritchett, right there, number 192. Another of the many Mustangs in this field. So the pace car is off. The cars are climbing the hill, making up much of that 160 plus feet of vertical elevation I mentioned. And now onto the front straightaway. It's all in the hands of pole sitter Marshall Mast. We got to move down the inside. They are away cleanly.
Derek Kulak tried to take a little look to the inside towards the concrete wall, but actually had a balk for a moment, had a little bit, maybe a misshift almost, dropped off the back of Marshall Mast. So it's side by side. Can Jason Ott hold the outside? No. Marshall Mast will sweep across the nose. And they're still 2 by 2 through most of the field through turn 1.
Very closely matched, but clean, and that's difficult at turn 1 here at Road America. Then through turns 2, down here to 3, and launching onto that mid-track straightaway known as the Moraine Sweep. 2,600 feet long and not the longest on the entire track.
This will be interesting coming down this straightaway. Jason Ott in the BMW has the straight line speed advantage by a couple mile an hour coming into the trap speeds right here. He's going to look to the inside, but Marshall Mast really good on the brakes. They were so blown away, Phoenix Performance was, by how good the brakes were on this Mustang when they tested out for the first time. That's what encouraged them to build the EcoBoost Mustang even in the first place for this category. It weighs over 3,500 pounds to the 3,200 pounds of Jason Ott's BMW, so a huge weight advantage helps with that straight line speed, the BMW Z4M, as they're starting to break away just a little bit at the front.
As they are, as they make it through turn 7, through Hurry Downs, and number 20, Daniel Sperrick, in his BMW Z4, has parked it at turn 5 in a cloud of tire smoke. We'll see if he can get rolling again.
Whoa, big rear brake lock up there. So this was the incident with the number 20 car. See if it'll be a solo incident or not, but that is the teammate to Jason Ott, that currently runs in second place. No, it looks like he just shot off to the right, caught the concrete with the right side of that car, and will come to rest just off track at turn 6.
Blind over a brow left-hander at turn 6. For my money, the trickiest turn on the racetrack. Not sure what that second incident was, but right now, no sign of any kind of a yellow flag, so carry on.
I think this is the 91 of Russell Sewell. Looks like he locked the rear brakes, maybe missed the downshift, and just goes for a little bit of a ride. Now that's harmless. He will be able to rejoin this race, whips the car around, and rejoins at turn 8. The question is whether they will do a hot toe for the number 20 car of Spirik, and how long turn 6 will be under local yellow.
We had a cloud of dust down there in Canada Corner as well. Don't worry, folks, we'll get caught up here. Meanwhile, the race goes on. Marshall Mast leading Jason Ott, and then Derek Kulak. You know it's going to be a tough field when all 3 of last year's medalists are in the first 2 rows of the starting grid.
And this is Kulak and Rob Hines working together, bump drafting down the front straight next to last year's champion Broderick Bagres in the BMW, who's got the inside line, but it's Kulak who's going to maintain the position. And Rob Hines actually had to replace the transmission in that silver Nissan last night, so that car has a fresh transmission in it, and you can see just how much the drafting works in these cars. They're not fast enough for it to not be a factor. Now, Broderick Bagres had the advantage last year at VIR, not only being a local, but we're going to take a peek as what to happen in Canada Corner. Whoa. Yikes.
Whoa.
That is the 74 car of Ross Murray in a Mustang GT on a huge ride straight into the back of, I think that's Jason Knutson. That's a really big hit, unfortunate for both of those cars. So we'll probably be under local yellow in turn 6 and in turn 12 for a little bit of this race. Coming back to that BMW that currently runs 4th, he doesn't really have the advantage of the home track or the way that car makes speed at Road America makes it very hard to race. As you can see, Marshall Mast is starting to pull away at the front with that turbo Mustang.
Into the carousel they go. Long, long right-hander. Keep the throttle down as far as you dare. Slow-moving safety vehicle on track, so everyone slows up appropriately.
And they'll be responding to that incident down in Canada Corner. So we're going to stay green, I think, with that incident getting a local yellow, a hot tow for those two cars. But those were a couple of cars in the top 10, so the top 10 has been spread out quite a bit. You saw Bretton Williams just dodged one by getting collected from Ross Murray. That spread out the bottom half of the top 10. So it's Marshall Mast with a little bit of a lead over Jason Ott. Derek Kulak runs third, goes a little bit wide exiting Canada Corner, which is going to allow Project Bogus to pull up to the outside, to the back bumper of that car. And then after being really close to this battle, Rob Hines has dropped off a bit as well. So surprised to see so much space between a number of these cars. Now the big question is at the front, can Jason Ott, with 300 pounds less in that BMW, maintain the speed a little bit better than Marshall Mast with a race distance? Hand motions inside the 350Z. I think that is a push me, don't race me from Kulak. He knows if they race each other, there is no hope of catching the leaders in this race. Full course caution.
See the flag stand, the flagman holding those flags down. There's a pretty stiff breeze blowing right down the front straightaway into the faces of the drivers as they make their way down to turn one. So while we have this opportunity, we'll take a break under yellow and be back with more from the Touring 3 race at the 57th SCCA Runoffs. Today's broadcast of the SCCA Runoffs is brought to you by Mazda. Feel alive.
When the finish line calls, we answer. Hit the road with insurance protection from Hagerty. Whether you drive a built racer, sports car, or exotic, and save an average of $264. Get a quote today at Hagerty.com.
It's happening more often, and that's not surprising. People are getting lost to find themselves. And discovering the best part is often hidden in the journey along the way. The first ever CX-30. Performance that inspires with available iActive all-wheel drive.
Back at Road America, still under a full course caution for multiple incidents around the racetrack requiring the attention of the safety crews. And that gives us an opportunity for a tip of the helmet to all of the volunteers who come out, trained as well as they are to come out and make racing possible, working the corners and working the administration of these events. And our thanks go out to all of them, not only here in SCCA competition, but throughout the world of professional motorsports, where they are a critical element of everything that goes on.
It's been really exciting to see a new partnership with SCCA and IMSA, not only bringing the new generation of professional drivers, but also workers and crew members, etc. Everybody that makes racing happen. You know, these drivers are, I would say, the luckiest of everybody here because they get to enjoy the motorsport behind the wheel. But everybody here enjoying motorsports, especially, as you mentioned, the safety workers, flaggers, and crew members who are the ones that truly make it happen, because as we are in club racing and amateur racing, not every one of these guys is the guy turning the wrenches. And if there wasn't someone turning the wrenches or waving that flag, they wouldn't be out here. But Touring 3, we saw a bit of a spread develop after a lap and a half before a large incident down in Canada Corner. All drivers are okay, and a couple of cars have had to retire, but Marshall Mast is probably pretty happy with his slightly porky Mustang EcoBoost, getting a little break in this race. 13 laps, and the clock will continue to tick. But Jason Ott was keeping him honest in the BMW Z4M. in second place. Those two cars had developed a little bit of a breakaway from Derek Kulak and Broderick Bogus. Bogus, last year's national champion at what is mostly his home track, VIR, but bringing that BMW up from South Carolina and has qualified over 2 seconds off the pace, but you can guarantee that BMW Spec E46 can run that lap time every single lap.
Ambient temperature right now, about 58 degrees. As you can see, the track bathed in direct sunlight that will help keep it warm. The temperature predicted to rise as high as 75 Fahrenheit today. And that'll play into the way the various drivers and teams approach their races.
And Hayward mentioned to us on the pit lane or for the grid interviews that Marshall Mast on the softer compound Hoosier tire that is allowed in this race. As we go black flag all to pull those drivers down the pit lane, and we will hold them on the pit lane rather than allowing them to continue to circulate. But again, another probably positive for Marshall Mast's race, because that softer compound tire will have fewer laps to overheat, whereas Jason Ott, as Hayward mentioned, took the gamble on running a split compound with the soft compound in the front, the harder compound in the rear. Ott was going for the long haul, and this is definitely not playing into his advantage. The other car that is probably pretty happy is Rob Hines, who had a rough final lap just before, there he is, had a rough final lap just before we went full course caution, had dropped off the battle for the final podium position just a little bit, and he'll get another go at it.
A healthy number of cars, unfortunately, have not completed a lap, and they include those who recently found themselves on the sidelines due to incidents on track. Ross Murray, Richard Baldwin, Daniel Spyrick. Meanwhile, Jasper Drengler, Jason Knutson, Michael Pettiford, Phil DePippo, Eddie Nakato, and David Muramoto, all shown as not having completed a lap.
Yeah, Jasper Drengler was that red and yellow Civic that we saw with heavy smoke on the warm-up lap at the very tail end of the field. So clearly some powertrain issues in that Civic Si. And unfortunately, Philip DePippo, as you just mentioned, the number 94 car, is a teammate to Marshall Mast, was actually the first driver to pick up on that Mustang EcoBoost for T3 and was kind of the catalyst to them building a few more. He lost a transmission in qualifying, so he's not out there, but I think he has a little part in Marshall Mast being at the front right now in that 31 car.
No word yet as to when the cars will be back on track. This place just oozes history when you think back over the years, back to 1955, as we explained earlier. Not only SCCA running, but IMSA sports cars, the Indy cars, NASCAR. Actually, the second weekend back in 1955-56 on this track. The first was a sports car event. Phil Hill, the winner by about a foot, driving a Ferrari. Shortly after that, NASCAR came to town, if you could believe it. Didn't draw much of a crowd because it was just a little southeastern series for very heavy, familiar-looking stock cars. Tim Flock won the event in a Mercury. But Can-Am, Formula 5000, Trans Am, you name it, they have raced here at Road America. The absolute track record here is 1 minute 38 and change, set by my occasional commentary colleague and IndyCar legend Dario Franchitti back in the year 2000.
A mere minute faster than the SCCA T3 field.
Well, I wasn't going to go there.
Can attain. Obviously, very different machinery.
Right.
Man, 2:30, a minute 30. So as with all the SCCA Runoffs races, it will be a 40-minute event or 13 laps, whichever comes first. Under black flag conditions, the timer will continue to run. We have 13 and a half minutes elapsed on the race, but we are not continuing the laps so that they will have maximum number of laps to race when we go back to green flag. So we're working lap number 4. We'll have at least 7 laps of green flag racing, hopefully, once we throw that green flag for a restart. For Marshall Mast to continue to lead this T3 field over Jason Ott, Derek Kulak, Broderick Bogus, and Rob Hines are the top 5. Bretton Williams just dodging disaster down in Canada Corner from behind. That is the 6th place driver, elevating James Berlin up into the 7th spot from Savage, Minnesota. Scotty B. White's another Mustang EcoBoost out of Washington. He is 8th. Chris Davis is 9th, and Mark Andrews 10th. So that's the current standing top 10 after a number of retirements, including Ross Murray, Richard Baldwin, and Daniel Spirik, all involved in incidents on that first lap.
Yeah, it's a tough break for Ross Murray, one of several drivers in this field who has a complete collection of SCCA Runoffs medals, gold, silver, and bronze. Rob Hines from Arlington, Virginia, also has at least one of each. The same for Marshall Mast, currently on point in this event. And I see Hayward standing down there by the safety car. Let's hear from him now.
Guys, we're here at the front of the grid. I just spoke with the top 3 drivers. Pretty much the same story across the board. Everybody was struggling with grip. Everyone was struggling with temperature. Cars were just starting to come in when we went to this black flag condition. But I think for Marshall in the lead car, running the A's all the way around, this is probably going to help him. I was just talking with Steve Ott. He feels like this is going to hurt his chances, but he was pleased with how well he was able to hang with Marshall during the first part of this race. For Derek, this is a chance for him to close that gap up and be closer than the 2 leaders than he was before. So when we go green, I think we're going to see a lot of what we just saw, but now with maybe a little bit more caution because these guys know that the tires are taking longer to come in than they thought it would. One thing of note, everybody mentioned that the course was more green than they expected on the first couple of laps out. So even though these guys practiced and qualified in the mornings, the number of cars they saw out on track before they went out wasn't as high today as other days. Not as much race rubber down, not as much grip.
Thank you, Hayward. I guess that's to be expected, especially when you have as many different brands and types of tire compound down the track. They're not always going to mix together well.
Yeah, there's chemistry beyond my education involved with that, but I can tell you from firsthand that if you're on track with a tire that doesn't agree with the previous session's tire, it is a handful and a half for a couple of laps. But this is also the coolest morning we've had in any of our qualifying or practice days. So even though these drivers were given the opportunity to qualify every morning at around the same time as their race was scheduled to take place, this morning in the low 50s and only, as you said now, 57 degrees. Every other day this week was at least 60 degrees by now, so not a surprise to hear that the track was a little bit slippery, but they've at least gotten a preview of it now, so hopefully we can get a nice clean restart and another 6-7 laps of racing.
And as the racers always say, it's the same for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of folks looking around expectantly, which I take as a good sign. And the clock continues to run, as Tom mentioned. 23 minutes exactly remaining in the race. Back at Road America, after a brief full course caution and a lengthy red flag that stopped the clock at 20 minutes 37 seconds remaining in the race, we're ready to resume the skirmish here in the T3 class of the National Runoffs. Bob Varsha, Tom O'Gorman with you. As Tom mentioned earlier, there is a 40-minute time limit on the race. We'll see how far we get as we are about to work lap 5.
Yeah, about 19 minutes elapsed on the clock, so we have 20 minutes, about half of the race duration left to work with. So at this point, I suspect we'll be on a timeline for the checkered flag. We have, at most, another 7 laps to work with. With these cars lapping around 2.5 minutes, I think we should see between 5 and 6 laps of racing for this Touring 3 field, currently led by pole sitter Marshall Mast out of Denver, Pennsylvania in his Mustang EcoBoost, followed up by Jason Ott, who had done a pretty good job clinging to the back of that Mustang at the start of this race. The BMW Z4M of Ott is a little bit faster in a straight line, a little bit lighter, and I think he was hoping for a clean, long-duration race. This caution, he said, is not playing to his advantage. We'll see how that plays out with Derek Kulak, Broderick Bogus, last year's national champion, and Rob Hines are currently sitting in the top 5.
And 6th is Bretton Williams in his Nissan 370Z from Clinton, Iowa. 7th, James Berlin from Savage, Minnesota. 8th is Scotty B. White in another Ford Mustang EcoBoost from Auburn, Washington. 9th, Chris Davis in a BMW E46 from Maple Plain, Minnesota. Rounding out the top 10, Mark Andrews in a BMW 330 Ci from Gig Harbor, Washington.
So while we have the opportunity, the 1 minute given on the grid, and they're finally releasing from the red flag condition, pace car leads the field back onto the track for a single warm-up lap, and then a green flag restart. We'll see a single file restart, which will be a little bit different than that 2x2. But at the start, or at the front, I should say, Marshall Mass, the Mustang EcoBoost, it's 2.3-liter turbo Mustang that weighs 3,550 pounds in T3 trim. That's the heaviest car on the grid. It is also not the fastest car in the straight line. It's actually one of the better handling cars, believe it or not. So while it may use its resources up a little bit faster, it is best on the brakes and best in the corners relative to the cars around it. The car directly behind is 300 pounds lighter. That's Jason Ott's car, about 3,250 for that car. And it is absolutely measurably the fastest car in a straight line here, so those cars will race very different as their strengths lie in different places. Then it's the Nissan 350Z Nismo of Derek Kulak who sits third. That car is around the same weight, about 100 pounds heavier than the BMW, so that's kind of in the mid-range. And then the lightweight car on the grid is the Spec E46 of Broderick Bogus, under 3,000 pounds, 2,950 for that car. So there's a nearly 600-pound spread between the first and fourth place cars. And all of those cars have their own strengths and weaknesses. Now, this shortened race will play into those heavier cars' hands, especially Marshall Mast on the softer Hoosier compound tire, and only, again, 5 to 6 laps at best. Once we take the green flag on this restart for that car, he's got to be pretty happy about that. Broderick, on the other hand, in the E46 with the lighter weight, probably really wanted to see that Mustang burn its tires down and come back to it.
Field moves through turn 5, up the hill toward that blind left-hander at 6. One of the most popular viewing spots here at Road America. Under the bridge they come. And through turn 7, through Hurry Downs, down to turn 8. The entire facility of some 600 plus acres. Beautiful shape. This weekend's event. Some 450 events per year. Not all motorsports related, I should add. But this is a very busy facility and a big contributor to the economy in this part of Wisconsin.
It's fun to walk around the other day and find disc golf holes, ATV trails. We actually got in a little trouble from going a little too far down one of those trails that we shouldn't have been on, but we found our way back to the paddock. So there's a whole lot going on here that is not motorsports related, but we're thrilled to be here for motorsports purposes this week. As you can see in the upper left-hand corner, under 18 minutes now, so I think we're probably looking at a 5-lap sprint for this one.
I think you're right. Now let's have a look at why we were under the long caution and red flag. The Mustang at unimpeded speed comes along, big collision, and then into the fence. And although the drivers are reportedly okay, the fence was not. And as we often see in motorsports, the race will not go on until the safety equipment is in its proper position and condition. And that's what kept us under a red flag while the corner workers attended to the fence.
That was Ross Murray. That looks like he almost lost his brakes in the Mustang coming into Richard Baldwin's rear quarter, and you saw the tower the cameras on actually shaking from that impact. So glad both drivers are okay, but we're coming back to a green flag restart.
Safety car is off. And Marshall Mast will lead Jason Ott, Derek Kulak, and the rest of the field up and over the brow to face the green flag. Kulak once again looks to the inside. He did that at the initial green flag of the race. Didn't work then, and it isn't working now. As Ott tries to pull up alongside in the blue and silver BMW, and it looks like he is there as they go into turn 1.
Wow, Marshall Mast really sent it into turn number 1 and went all the way off the track to maintain the position, but they've been allowing that and that's those bumpy curbs that we talked about. So Jason Ott made a big move. Look at Broderick Bogus around the outside of turn number 3 all the way up into 3rd. That's your defending national champion in the black and white BMW. And now everybody really got a great restart. Sometimes these single file restarts string the field out. That is not the case in Touring 3 right now. Only Marshall Mass getting a little bit of a breakaway. Now the rest of the cars behind have to be very careful to not battle and let them get away too much. But Broderick Bogus has a side-by-side battle for Derek Kulak, and that is Rob Hines trying to move around the outside in the silver Nissan, but he's not going to get the power down, and closes the door, does Rick Kulak.
Tires are probably still pretty cool, so you have to be careful in that heavy braking zone. Once again, using all the track and then some, but you can see there's a big fall off when you get to the end of that extra pavement.
You want to use the extra pavement, but not hit that big ditch as the field is cleanly through turn 6 and 7, down into turn number 8. There's a look at Stephen Jouet in the yellow and black Honda Civic, made up a number of spots in that restart, and then a side-by-side battle between Rick Kulak from Nissan Motorsports getting around the outside of the 73 car. That's John Lejudas.
Love this corner, the carousel.
Into the kink, stringing out just a little bit of equal distance. Look at Bogus all the way out to the dirt in the kink. Oh, and Scotty B. White goes for a 2-off ride. That is the scariest thing you can do in the kink, and all you got to do is keep your hands straight and the car will come back, but it's easy to panic. A little bit of a break happening between Rob Hines and then Bretton Williams with the windshield wipers on, coming into Canada corners. So the top 5 breaking away slightly. The 12 car of James Berlin, that is for 6th position, and he's all the way up from 11th. A great charge from him in the number 12 car.
Started with last year's top 3 finishers in the first 2 rows, and they remain there. Gold medalist Broderick Burgess is currently 4th. Silver medalist Marshall Mast 1st. Bronze medalist Jason Ott in 2nd. Could be a case of podium deja vu at the end of this one.
Very much so, and Marshall Mass is doing what he needs to do right now. That, again, is the heaviest car. It's on the softest compound tire. It is a turbo as well. If he can build any amount of distance right now over the rest of the field, that car will theoretically only get slower from now for the rest of the race. The other cars will get faster and faster. So Jason Ott, Broderick Bogus, Rob Hines, and Derek Kulak have to stay nose to tail, work together, be productive, and make sure that Marshall Mass doesn't run away with this one. T3 has been one of the best races over the last couple of years. We've seen it come down to the flag 3 years in a row. This year, it's a more spread out than usual, as now we're looking at Garcia in the spec Boxster, just in front of the 132. That is Earl Zimmerman, who's fallen a number of places, over 10 positions at this point in that orange and white BMW.
Down the 2,600-foot backstretch, neither straight nor level, and oh, big slide from Marshall Mask. Using that pavement we talked about, everybody following in his tracks, but that Mustang beginning to slide around, is that a sign the tires might be giving up a little bit?
Yeah, they're definitely not going to get any better at this point, and he's probably fine to push at 110% like he looks like he's doing, but you can't say that he's cruising. Marshall Mast is absolutely on the limit in that EcoBoost Mustang at the front, but Jason Ott is doing a pretty good job to stay within touch. It's 1.2 seconds between the leaders, and then another 1.2 seconds back to this 3-car battle that we're watching for the bronze medal. That is Broderick Bogus at the front in the BMW, followed by a pair of Nissans. Rob Hines actually got around Derek Kulak for 4th, so the top Nissan spot now goes to Hines. Whoa, Bogus is 4 off, exiting the kink. He's trying so hard through that section.
Things beginning to get racy here as we approach the closing stages of the Touring 3 race here at the National Runoffs presented by Mazda. Huge slide there and a big correction with 2nd place Jason Ott.
Just loses the rear end a little bit exiting turn number 14, and he actually kicked up dust in turn 13 as well. So Ott is maybe driving a little over his head, trying to keep up with Marshall Mast, who continues to pull out just a little bit further and further every lap at the line. Last time through, it was 1.2 seconds, now 1.9 seconds, so the lead is extending, but the battle for third is hot. That's Broderick Bogus and Rob Hines, BMW versus Nissan, and the Nissan looks fast.
Boy, Burgess, the defending gold medalist, has been fun to watch. He's been dropping a wheel off here and there all the way around that last lap. No question of how hard he's trying.
About almost 400 pounds difference between these cars. The BMW, the lighter of the two, and it's going to carry its speed a little bit better. And he can get away with overdriving a little bit more than Jason Ott, that BMW in second. The coupe, whoa, look at Rob Hines, 2 off, goes to the inside down to turn number 5, and he's going to complete the pass all the way before turn-in. The 4 car up to third. Does he overshoot the corner? No, he closes the door and will be in third place exiting turn 5.
So that moves the defending gold medalist off the provisional podium, as we now have 10.5 minutes remaining in the race.
Don't forget, Rob Hines just put a transmission in that car overnight, so he has nothing to lose at this point. There was a point, I'm sure, at which he thought he may not even be taking the green flag. So he's got a ton of motivation, but Bogus is hunting behind Rob Hines, super defensive down into turn number 8. Bogus tries the over-under, but he doesn't have the oomph in the BMW to make it happen, so Hines is going to lead into the carousel. These two still absolutely glued together. Whoa, Hines a little bit wide. Bogus shows the nose, and he's in there just enough. Hines gives him the room. Wow, super tight in the carousel.
Well, the carousel is one thing. Coming up is the kink, where you do not want to be side by side.
This is where Bogus has been off 2 laps in a row. He goes through for the first time all 4 on the track surface, and he's tucked up into the draft of that Nissan. Derek Kulak is probably enjoying watching this battle because he knows it's giving him the chance to come back. This could be a 3-way battle for the lead, for the third place position in a couple of corners. Look at Bogus trying so hard, using all the track and more. Every corner.
Climbing through turn 13, once the site of the Billy Mitchell Bridge. It was the scene of some spectacular accidents over the years, removed in 2006, much to the pleasure of the racers who considered it dangerous.
Fewer things to hit is always great. So a little bit of distance between Rob Hines and Broderick Bogus now. As you can see, the legs of the Nissan down the straightaway just starts to pull car lengths and car lengths over the BMW. And that's what we talked about last year. The BMW had enough corners at VIR to deal with, that he had the hometown advantage and enough handling to hold on to the win over Marshall Mast, who is this man right now continuing to lead. The lead at the start-finish line extended by another full second, 2.9 now over Jason Ott. This pendulum is just swinging further and further towards Marshall Mast's advantage.
Down to 8 minutes, 30 seconds to go as they flash down the Moraine sweep. 2,636 feet before you get on the brakes for turn 5.
Shifting back to that third place battle, Derek Kulak is a little bit closer, but Rob Hines, this is where he made the pass for the corner last time through. Bogus closes the gap big time on the brakes, and they come close to no space between the two of them at the apex of turn 5. Look at the momentum that BMW can carry through the corners. The question is, does he have anywhere to go with it? If Rob Hines just stays in the way, there's no way for that BMW to get around, and I think if he wants a shot at maintaining this position, he needs to make the pass happen down here into turn number 8 and pull away where he's so strong through that carousel and kink complex.
Not happening this time.
Using a bunch of curve at the apex too. You see 11s is left on the back of that BMW, not from a power slide, just from sliding off of the apex. And Bogus looks so clean and tight and tidy through the carousel, but Hines is now going to stretch the legs of that Nissan. He's got to be careful when he makes his move. Now that Kulak is there, this is properly a 3-car battle.
Kulak there in that psychedelically liveried Nissan. Oh! Lots of dust. Battle rages for the third and final spot on the podium here in T3. Rob Hines, Broderick Burgess, and Derek Kulak.
It's a Nissan sandwich with BMW meat, and right now Bogus is trying hard to move himself out of that position. This is the point on the track where the BMW just has nothing to say. The straight line speed is not there in the E46. Watch Derek Kulak. He's going to start to close this gap. We may see a challenge for 4th place down into turn number 1. And Rob Hines in the silver Nissan, car number 4, starting to pull away just a little bit. Look at the legs on that silver car. Somehow is even quicker in a straight line than Kulak's in 5th.
Closing up on 6 minutes to go in this race, a big chunk of which was lost to a full course caution. The red flag saved us some time here at the end.
Another good battle for 8th place. That's Scotty B. White and Lance Stout in another 350Z. You see a little bit less aero. That is not one of the Nismo 350s. That's one of the other ones. And here is Rick Kulak still battling with, that's the number 91. Russell Seawald, who went for a little bit of a ride on the first lap and was able to reset on that red flag. So he's challenged Nissan and BMW battles across the board here in T3. Up at the front, Marshall Mast 4.6 seconds over Jason Ott. He is properly checked out at this point, but Rob Hines, Broderick Bogus, and Derek Kulak continuing to battle. Now, that is a relation. Derek Kulak in 5th place, and Rick Kulak on your screen, the yellow 370, is his father. So it's a father-son game spanning the field as well. Interestingly, Derek Kulak has dropped off the back of this battle a little bit.
You see that so much here at the Runoffs. Family relationships, husband, wife, father, daughter, father, son, brothers, sisters. It's a family affair, which motorsports has always been. An SCCA competition is a great way to get started in a motorsports career. All those tire marks on the pavement tell you just how sketchy it can get in the kink.
Really easy to overdrive this corner as well. Canada corner, it's always a little bit slower than you think after going over 130 miles an hour. But Broderick Bogus gets the car slowed down all the way up to the bumper of Rob Hines. Hines continuing at the point. I think Hines' car has the advantage in the layout of the track, but Bogus is trying his best.
Over the brow as time begins to dwindle. Less than 4 minutes remaining now in the T3 National Final. And since the green flag waved after that red flag 4 laps in, Marshall Mast in that Ford Mustang EcoBoost out of Denver, Pennsylvania has been uncatchable. Not so this situation as Rob Hines tries to hold off last year's winner, Broderick Bogus.
A lot of questions coming into this Touring 3 race this morning with that Mustang EcoBoost at the front. There are tire compound discussions, car weight discussions, and a lot of those questions kind of seem to get thrown out the window with that extended red flag. So it's Marshall Mast who's extended over almost a 6-second lead to Jason Ott, who has had a lonely second place run. But this battle has never fizzled once this entire race. Whoa, a ton of entry speed from Broderick Bogus. Maintains a perfect couple-inch distance to the back bumper of Rob Hines' Nissan 350Z Nismo. And now we're getting into the section where Broderick is kind of just stuck. He doesn't really have anywhere to go and needs to get a good run, but you can just see how fast that Nissan leaves the corner, gets him just a little bit of a buffer every time when he needs it most.
Should get one more lap. It's a good look at Bogus doing everything he can. And there is Mast sailing along.
He's been incredibly consistent too. His fastest lap, a 2:31.6. The last time through, many laps later, a 2:32.2. So that car, despite its weight, despite the tire choice he's made, has been a very consistent performer this week. in that Mustang EcoBoost. Jason Ott, again, kind of running in that second place all by himself. 5 seconds back, and then another 5 seconds back to that battle we were watching between Hines and Bogus. Don't count out Derek Kulak. He's a multi-time national champion, and he could still eke his way onto the podium if things shift his way. But here comes Marshall Mast to take that white flag.
Another second or so before he sees it. Now he should. And it waves. As you can see, it's a clear rear view mirror for Marshall Mast. Here comes Ott. He too has a big piece of track all to himself. And then the battle between Hines and Bogus.
Oh, Jason Ott is not for not trying. Look at that. A big slide all the way through turn 1, and the fast kind of slide. Not, whoa, here comes Bogus. He's got to run. He goes all the way to the grass upside Rob Hines, and he's going to shove it in there. The BMW is getting desperate on the final lap of Touring 3's championship race. He's got it done, closes the door. Look at that, moves across the nose of the Nissan, and now they're getting into the part of the straightaway where they have very similar straight line speed. Rob Hines was in the grass to make this pass happen, and he's going to try it again. Look at that now, right side's in the grass. And this is a repeat of what we saw 3 laps ago, and Hines gets it done once again. Can the over-under happen this time through? Hines gets the power down. Whoa, Bogus does a little touch, but they're still side-by-side going into 6.
Great racing and respectful racing. Maybe one slight rub there in turn 5. Oh, Bogus gets sideways. They have been tight but clean through multiple corners now.
And that might have been the nail in the coffin. Bogus needed to be perfect because I do believe he's at a little bit of a disadvantage with the layout of this track and the way that car makes its speed. That slide gave Rob Hines a little bit of a buffer. It's not done yet, though. Look at Hines. He's fighting that car on the way into the carousel, using a ton of extra space that Roderick Bogus just doesn't need. He's glued to the grass on the inside through the carousel, now towards the kink.
This being just the 3rd race of 9 on the day, there's not an awful lot of tire debris out there. Had it been the 8th or 9th race of the day, Hines might have found himself in a very different situation as Bogus gets 4 off in the grass. What will Bogus do? Try it here in Canada? No, it doesn't look like it.
I think his options may be exhausted. It's down to a mistake from Rob Hines because the way that Nissan leaves the corners, it's so fast in the first 100 yards. He's going to come off of turn 14 and just kind of drive away.
Meanwhile, cruising serenely to the finish and a gold medal in national championship competition, Marshall Mast takes the checkered flag. Jason Ott comes across a clean 2nd, and then that hard-fought battle for 3rd goes to Rob Hines in his Nissan over Broderick Bogus. Now what do we have here? John LeJudas in his Mustang, off and on at Canada Corner with a lot of tire smoke.
It looked like he was in a good battle with Earl Zimmerman, and Zimmerman's going to get it done. Whoa, Steven Zhu goes for a ride in the front-wheel drive Honda Civic SI, just keeps his foot in it, no drama there, but is not going to be able to take a run at the 55 of Mark Andrews, who's going to come across the line just outside the top 10, 11th and 12th, just there taking the check.
So terrific battles throughout the field as we see class after class here in the 26 that make up the 57th SCCA National Championship Runoffs. Our broadcast is presented by Mazda, and it has provided great entertainment thus far with a lot more to come. Now, what have we here? Oh, this is LeJudas. Oh, you assisted a hip check.
I called it a great battle, but maybe not so great. It looks a little naughty there from the BMW of Zimmerman on LeJudas. Looks like is able to resume. But someone who had no dramas this race right there on frame, Marshall Mast, back in winner's circle in T3, where I'm sure he feels he belongs.
Bronze medal last year, his 2nd national championship this year. Out of the Philadelphia region, Marshall Mast is doing his compadres proud.
It hasn't been the easiest week in the Phoenix Performance Camp, so this has got to be a good start to their race week. Qualifying had its problems across the 6, 7, 8 classes they compete in, so for them to already have a gold medal around the neck of a Phoenix Performance driver, very proud, I'm sure, of all of them for going out on a limb a little bit, trying a new car for the first time this season. Didn't get to run it much, and it comes out to the championships to collect its first national win.
So Marshall Mast will make his way to Parc Fermé, as it were. Oops. Now what have we here?
That would be Nicole Jacques in another one of the Phoenix Performance cars. That's a Mustang GT of a V8 variant, and looks like she went for a ride exiting turn 13.
And it looked like it was damaged on the front end. I don't know if she just got into the grass and it tore off some bits. She'll be assisted after the track goes cold.
Give a shout out to, oh, go ahead.
I just mentioned Marshall Mast goes from a bronze medal one year to a gold the next. Kudos to Jason Ott as well, who picks up his second consecutive silver medal here in the runoffs.
He's been racing that car at the runoffs since 2009, on and off, racking up medals.
So the Touring 3 National Championship race is now in the books. We'll wait for the drivers to get their helmets off. And Hayward Wagner will be down there to ask them about their race. A pretty eventful one, at least from where we're sitting. Some heavy action early on that led to a full course caution, then a red flag that preserved part of the race for us. And although Marshall Mast basically drove away from the field, as did Jason Ott in second place, there was plenty of fighting going on at the end. Let's go to Hayward.
Marshall, a little bit of different feel this year than last year. How satisfying is it after the huge battle last year to take control of this race?
It was awesome. That's a huge weight off of my shoulders, definitely during the race. But I'm so happy with Phoenix Performance. You know, we put a lot of time into this car, building in the off season, and it's awesome to just show up and put an effort in like that during the race.
How hard was it for you to keep focused, to keep your intensity up, sitting on pit lane, not sure how many laps you were going to get, when you would be going back out?
Well, it wasn't fun, that's for sure. But, you know, I just try to stay calm, stay relaxed, and just wait till you start rolling again, and then it all goes away.
Well, you get to enjoy one more lap here at Road America with the checkered flag in your hand. Savor the moment.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, that has got to be a very satisfying lap. Here's a look at the unofficial results. Marshall Mast with the victory and the gold medal. Jason Ott, his second silver medal in as many years. Rob Hines gets the bronze. Then last year's champion, Broderick Bogus, who battled Hines to the very end. Derek Kulak, very much present in that battle as well. Then Bretton Williams, James Berlin, Scotty B. White, Lansing Stout, and Chris Davis rounding out the top 10. And as you can see, the field spread out pretty well. 35 seconds from first to 10th.
Quick shout out to Bretton Williams, who was on a charge those last couple of laps, set personal bests on the last few laps, and was working his way towards the top 5. You have to wonder, if we'd have gone full distance, would that have been a 6-car battle at the front? There goes Marshall Mast on his final lap.
And with that, we go back to Hayward.
Jason Ott, I'm so glad that you made it to the podium so that I could offer a quick apology for my faux pas mid-race. Congratulations on the silver. I know that you had in designs on that top step of the podium, but talk about the satisfaction of podium here at Road America.
Yeah, thanks. No worries. It was a good, hard race. We worked so hard to get here, and SCCA puts on such a great venue. It's bittersweet. I've been here a few times before. One of these days we'll get on the top, but couldn't be happier. We're really excited.
It looked like you kind of put all the eggs in one basket trying to run down the inside of Marshall on the restart. What happened there in turn 1 that created the gap for him?
Yeah, no, I did. I knew that he was quick through Sector 2, and then I was about the same in Sector 3 and 1, and so I tried to get underneath him going into Sector 1, Turn 1, and got in there a little too deep. I owe him a thanks for leaving me room there. He did a great job.
So great racers, great racing, a great race here in T3. Congratulations on the silver, and we're going to bring up our third place finisher. So, Jason, if you'll step on over here. Rob Hines, come on up. Rob, come on up. So, Rob, we're just going to have you stand right here, have a quick check. Congratulations on the bronze.
Thank you. Really excited to be here. It's been a while since I've been on the podium. We had an awesome race today.
So when you look at the back of that 370 that you're driving, it's a little wide to begin with, but how wide did you have to make it there on the last lap?
Oh, I didn't make it wide at all. We were having a great race. I've raced with Broderick before. He's expecting me out, a guy just like I am, so we just had a knockdown, drag-out fight.
Well, big congratulations to you on the bronze.
Thank you so much. I want to thank a couple sponsors here. I'd like to thank Who's Your Tire, G-Lock Brakes, Redline Oil, Meathead Racing, and of course Ben Selig, who had my transmission out at 1 a.m. this morning to make the race today.
So many great stories about those last-minute all-nighters to get cars ready. And in the spirit of sportsmanship that we find throughout SCCA racing, often your opponents will come in to help. No help needed for that man, Marshall Mast, your 2020 SCCA National Champion in Touring 3.